Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the Eachine C800T FPV camera. This is a CCD camera and has a built-in OSD controller right into the back of the camera here. So there's no additional OSD joystick that needs to be connected. I guess that could be an advantage. You don't have to carry a dongle or joystick around, but this button might be hard to reach in certain frames. If it's kind of buried, then you're going to have trouble getting to your OSD settings. So what's interesting about this camera, it's a 16:9 aspect ratio CCD camera, and as far as I know, the only other 16:9 cameras that I'm aware of are the Eagle, Eagle 2, and the Monster series from Foxeer. If you guys know of any other 16:9 FPV cameras that are CCD, let me know in the comments below because I'm really curious. This comes with a 2.5mm lens, pretty wide field of view. This case here is actually metal, not plastic, so it's kind of nice. I think the back part of the case here is plastic where these two screws are. You get, because there's no OSD joystick, you just get the three connections here for your video, power, and ground in the back. And it just comes with this servo connector. You probably want to cut that off and directly connect it to your flight controller or your video transmitter in some fashion. So there's no voltage sensor on this particular camera, so no other OSD settings like pilot name or flight time or battery voltage that goes on the screen. It's just a basic camera like the HS1177. Not a whole lot comes in the box. You get a lens cap, you get some screws here for mounting and a mounting bracket. We're going to get some measurements here. So this thing weighs about 18.6 grams. That's a little on the heavy side because it is a metallic case. And I'll just bring over an HS1177 here. And this is much lighter because it's got a plastic case. It's about 12.6 grams. And then this is an HS1177 with a GoPro lens on it. And that comes in at about 15 grams. So you're probably going to get similar field of view. I'm going to check these out in a second here to show you what the field of view looks like. But I think the metal case definitely gives you more protection, but it gives you more weight as well. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of measurements here. This is the width of the camera. So it's 26 millimeters wide. There's a little bit of additional width here from these screw mounts. And if you include the screw mounts, it's about an additional 1 millimeter, so 26.9 or 27 millimeters. And it's 26 millimeters tall, so this is going to be pretty much the same as the HS1177. Here, this is an HS1177. It's about 25.7 wide, 25.8 wide. Okay, so there was no instruction manual or specs in the box. I went to the product page to check out some of the additional information. It's got a 2.5mm lens. The video format is switchable via the OSD, so it's PAL and NTSC, and I'll actually go for the OSD in a second here. 16:9 aspect ratio. Pretty low lux reading, 0.001 lux, that's not too bad. The voltage range is really interesting here, 5 to 15 volts. So if you're using this on a 4S or 5S copter, you're probably going to burn the camera, so you're going to have to hook this up to a PDB, probably a 12 volt regulator or 5 volt regulator. Okay, so I got the camera hooked up and the lens looks like it's in focus and the image quality is really sharp. Now this is an 800 TV line camera and this is definitely more TV lines than an HS1177, which comes in at about 600 TV lines. So go ahead and I'll put the lens cap on and we'll take a look at the OSD. So the OSD joystick is kind of weird. The direction you're going to push the joystick in is in the corners and not up and down. So this is going to be kind of tricky. Let's see here. I obviously press the button to get into the menu. I guess down would be either down to the right maybe? Yeah, okay, so if you go down to the right, that actually goes down. And then up and to the left. No, that doesn't do anything. Down and to the left goes up. So down and to the right is down and down and to the left is up. Interesting. And then I think to go into a menu item you press. So this is white balance. Okay, so if you press down to the right, it goes down. Day night is on auto. let's see here. To change the selection, I think it's probably up and to the right. There you go. Color, black and white, EXT, auto, and then that's also selecting with the other direction. So let's select color here, and let's exit. Under video settings, here's your contrast, sharpness, color gain, noise reduction, format will be NTC or PAL, Y dynamic range is turned on. I'm going to leave these alone. Oh, it looks like the OSD times out if you don't do anything. Oh, okay, so using these buttons is a little difficult. Okay, so down to the right, down to the right. Yeah. And then if you sometimes if you go down the right, it actually initiates a center press. Very strange. Let's look at the video settings. Oh, that's the language. I just changed the language. Nice. Wow, this is not all that easy to use. Alright, let's go this, and then back to English here. Okay, so I think I hit reset, so I think that reset all my settings. Let's get out of here. Alright. So getting used to this diagonally oriented joystick is kind of weird. Let's look at these auto exposure. Brightness is pretty high. Exposure mode. Let's see. Globe, center, BLC. So I'm going to leave it alone. Let's look at the brightness setting. So actually, I'm gonna look to see what the image looks like here, and it doesn't look too bad. Probably not going to change much here. Let's go to white balance, and I'll leave that alone. Day night. Let's change that to color. And then go to video settings. So I'm not sure what the contrast values are. Let's see, 15, 16. So these are different than what's on the HS1177. So, whoops. So let's see how the higher contrast numbers look. It probably goes to about 30, I imagine. It goes pretty high. You can see that doesn't look very good at all. Let's bring that back down. Okay, so I'm not going to mess with this too much. The image looks fairly good on these defaults. I am going to turn Y dynamic range on. You definitely want that with your CCD cameras. And let's turn that on, and I usually like noise reduction to be low, so I'm going to drop that a little bit. Yeah, that looks okay. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and save this. So I'm going to start off with this. This looks pretty good. Okay, so let's take a look at the field of view. And you can see here that this is pretty similar to the GoPro, at least on the for the GoPro lens on the HS1177 on the width here. So about the side of the window here, and you get just past that other window over here. But the height is shorter. So you can see here the bottom window, and you can't even see the clock that's up here. On the HS1177, the GoPro lens, you can see the clock. I imagine it has to do with the 16:9 aspect ratio here. It's probably cutting off the top and bottom of the sensor, is what I'm thinking. Let me plug in the HS1177 and we'll look at that image field of view. So something I just realized, the plug on the Eachine camera here is reversed compared to an HS1177 plug. The one on the right here is an HS1177. You can see that it's the same connector type, but the video is on the wrong side from the power. So it's basically backwards. So you should probably keep that in mind if you have any of these cables from an HS1177. You're going to have to reverse them so that they'll fit the camera that the Eachine model has. Okay, so I got the HS1177 in here, and you can see the width is about the same. This is the one with the GoPro lens. And you can see it goes about the same position on the other side. There's the bottom of the window, but the Eachine camera only comes to the top of the window, and you can't even see the clock. So if you're looking for a CCD camera with really good vertical field of view, you probably want to stick with the HS1177 with the 4:3 aspect ratio. If you want 16:9, if you have like a Fat Shark Dominator V3 and you prefer that, then this Eachine one is not a bad option. Just that you're not gonna have as much vertical field of view, and that's gonna affect your ability to fly fast in fast forward flight. You have to have the camera tilted over a lot. You don't have as much field of view top and bottom, so you're gonna have to be flying with fairly good pitch control with something like this. Okay, we'll go ahead and I'll mount this into one of my mini quads, and we'll get some flight footage, and we'll take a look at what the image quality looks like. So I'm recording this flight on my Eachine VRD2 Pro goggles on the DVR at 720p, and I have the video upscale to 1080p, so it's a little bit pixelated, but actually not that bad considering it's an 800 TV line CCD camera. Now, something I'm noticing here right off the bat is that it's a very sunny, bright day, middle of the day, and I think the settings that I have in here, which I didn't really change a whole lot, they're default settings. It's a little overexposed. Basically the ground and the sky are kind of blown out. I think that you can definitely change those in the settings when you go into the OSD, and perhaps I probably should have, but it didn't look that bad in the goggles themselves. It was totally flyable, and I thought I saw plenty of detail, especially here when you get to the ground. You can see enough detail. I think it's only when you get kind of high up and the ground gets kind of blown out because it's so bright out. But other than that, I think the image quality looks pretty good. And if you're looking for a 16:9 aspect ratio CCD camera, this is probably the only one that I know of, or the only one I think that's out there. If anyone knows if there's another one out there that is similar in quality, let me know in the comments below. But for 20 bucks, I think this is not a bad camera. If you want a 16:9 CCD camera, I encourage you to check it out. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check it out, and I'll leave you the rest of the flight and some music.